Hey guys, Womblewasp here. To cut right to the chase, I was thinking last time this was the case, but now it's been confirmed straight from the source that this next character is going to be the final fighter for Smash Ultimate, the absolute last one. Going by patterns in the history of Smash, the final characters for the games, or the DLC passes or whatever, are typically never big hitters. In fact, they're usually quite the opposite. So while I'd love to say Nintendo could hit it out of the park and give us a great, amazing final fighter to end Ultimate off with, we better start preparing ourselves for another Fire Emblem character. That aside, now that there's only one character left to guess, I don't think anyone could realistically give an accurate prediction. It's literally one character. In the past, when there was a larger pool of fighters to guess, I could be a bit more broad with my predictions. But now, even if I went with a specific character, and you'd probably know who that is if you stuck on my channel for a while, it would be very unlikely, and also spending an entire video on just one character would be pretty boring if you ask me. So I was thinking for this video, I would go over a handful of possible character ideas that may or may not be likely, or maybe just characters I would think would be deserving. Before we start, I just thought it was necessary to go over the whole Mii Costumes situation. Obviously, at this point, Dante, Lloyd, Shantae, and Dragonborn Skyrim dude will not become playable. To be honest, I didn't expect any of them to begin with, so these picks aren't really changing my predictions or anything like that. But it's funny because I was expecting some Tekken costumes or other various Namco costumes, but this time around, the 4 Mii costumes were 4 relatively highly requested characters which have now obviously been deconfirmed. I'm basically 100% certain at this point that any Mii costumes or assist trophies, for that matter, pretty much deconfirm any character. Not that I think it matters, I really doubt that there will be another Nintendo character, although it's always possible to see a Pokemon character, with the final base game character being Incineroar. But I'm just gonna go on a hunch and say the final character will probably be from a brand new IP to Smash. So this whole Mii costume rule doesn't really impact anything anyway. Now, getting to my character predictions finally, specifically for this video, I'm going to be going over the 5 characters who I personally think are the most deserving to become playable. Not 5 characters I'd like to see per se, but my personal shot at an objective best 5 picks. Well, that's up for debate anyway, it's my opinion, but let's get into it. I thought I'd rip this off like a band-aid straight out the gate because I've seen quite a few people get sick of this character. Also, I've gone over Crash like at least 3 times in my previous videos at this point, so I don't know if I want to go over him again. All I'll say is that I think he's personally the most iconic video game character that isn't already in Smash. That's pretty much it, so yeah, let's move on. After Crash, I'd definitely say Master Chief is probably the most recognizable character that's not in Smash. In this video, 3 of my character ideas actually fall into this category of the most iconic characters not playable. I'll get to the final one next, but Crash and Master Chief are 2 of the 3. So I'm not familiar with the Halo series whatsoever. Just gonna put that out there in case I embarrass myself, but I think Master Chief could be a very interesting pick for Smash. For one, we haven't gotten a single FPS character, so this would be a first. I know there are gunner type characters in the game, and you could argue that Samus represents an FPS in a way, but Halo would be the first general FPS franchise represented in Smash through a character. Obviously, we've got Halo Infinite on the horizon, so I think it would be absolute perfect timing to release him by the end of the year. At least from Microsoft's perspective, marketing is definitely a huge factor for the character choices, especially in the second pass. I feel like there's a couple things holding him back, unfortunately. For one, it would be the second Microsoft rep in the second Fighters Pass at that, and I've generally gone out of my way to double up on publishers. It's not necessarily a problem, but it is kinda a deterrent in my opinion. Also, another issue is perhaps the weaponry and gun issue. I don't think it's a big issue, seeing as they got Snake working in the game back in Brawl, and since then we've had Bayonetta and Joker, which I'd argue have pretty realistic firearms. However, Halo being an FPS unlike Metal Gear, I feel like the series is very defined by its weapons and guns, so if Nintendo were to have a problem with that, I could see Master Chief's inclusion being a bit of an issue. However, they could always give him some of the alien guns, which are more wacky and less realistic, as well as the lightsaber energy sword thing for melee attacks. So I definitely could see him working without guns anyway, even if it wouldn't perfectly represent his character. I guess one last issue could be that he's not a prevalent character in terms of Nintendo consoles, but I really don't see that being an issue. Joker was barely on a Nintendo console when he released, and Steve is literally an Xbox character. I don't see the problem, but I see the need to mention it because I know a lot of people are going to say it in the comments. Anyway, moving on. That's right, the final character of the big three iconic characters is Lara Croft. To elaborate, I feel like these three characters in particular are by far the most iconic game characters that aren't in Smash. I think they're probably the only remaining characters that could be easily recognized on the street by random people. I'd say maybe Mortal Kombat as well, but anything else is pushing it. I'd say that Tomb Raider is, or at least was, a massive icon back in the 90s and overall very influential and iconic to games as a whole. Even to this day, the Tomb Raider series still has its games, even if they're just glorified Uncharted clones. So I do feel like the legacy of the Tomb Raider series alone justifies her inclusion. Another reason is that Nintendo has been seemingly pushing for more female representation in this second Fighters Pass, so I think that could increase her chances. There are a few issues, of course, mainly the fact that I don't think there is much to her character, unfortunately. She doesn't have any interesting powers or abilities unlike most characters in Smash. And then we also go back to the whole firearms problem I was talking about with Master Chief, but this time around I think it's an even bigger problem. Remove the guns from Lara Croft and what do you even have? Sure, she could use her bow or martial arts or whatever, but if Lara Croft were put in Smash, she would probably have a pretty boring moveset. Maybe I'm wrong though. Anyway, moving on. I can already see the hate comments as I'm saying this. Okay, I get it. Everyone hates Disney, yada yada yada. To get straight to my point with Sora, the reason I think he's one of the most deserving characters is, well, I think at this point he's by far the most requested character right now. Also, the Kingdom Hearts series is the largest JRPG franchise that's not in Smash. It has a huge following and legacy, and this time around it actually has a prevalent history with Nintendo for the most part, at least with the side games. I know a lot of people would argue that he would be another generic anime sword fighter, but I really disagree with that, and I think his moveset could have a lot of potential. For one, the Kingdom Hearts series, especially since Dream Drop Distance, has had a lot of focus on aerial combat, which is something that works hand in hand with Smash, and I don't think is really something that's been capitalized on with any of the already existing anime sword fighters. Obviously, you've also got his focus on magic and abilities. Finally, you've got his various forms, which I think could give a lot more depth to his moveset, and I think overall he could be a very unique sword fighter. Another prevalent argument against him is the whole Disney characters argument, and I kinda get it. The Kingdom Hearts series is heavily defined by Disney and Disney properties, and if you want to have perfect representation of this series and Sora as a whole, you're probably better off including the Disney elements of the series. However, hypothetically, if having non-game properties in Smash wasn't an issue, I really wouldn't expect there to be many Disney references at all included with Sora. At most, perhaps a final Smash cameo and some spirits. The Kingdom Hearts main story has pretty much nothing to do with Disney. In fact, there's only, 6 important Disney characters in the whole series, and I'm saying that pretty liberally. None of the music would be from Disney, Sora's moveset would have nothing to do with Disney, the stage would definitely be an original Kingdom Hearts location, because those are the most important locations to the series as a whole. Most of the spirits would be the main original characters too. Now, considering Disney is an issue, how hard is it to remove the Disney references? Just don't include the Disney spirits and change the Keyblade Mickey symbol to something else, and that's literally it. You're still representing Kingdom Hearts very well. I feel like the people that have a problem with Disney infiltrating Smash if Sora were to be included definitely are not familiar with the Kingdom Hearts series at all. If you're not convinced that Sora would be a great choice, the music alone would make it worth it. You wouldn't even have to have any rearrangements, and it would easily have a better selection of songs than any of the previous DLC packs. Finally, for my fifth, final most deserving fighter choice, it has to go to Ryu Hayabusa. The Ninja Gaiden series is probably the last remaining major NES franchise or icon that is yet to be in Smash. Besides Nintendo characters, of course, they already have Mega Man, Castlevania, Final Fantasy, and even arguably Dragon Quest. I cannot think of any other major NES properties besides Ninja Gaiden. The series has its heavy ties to Nintendo's past and legacy, and on top of that, the modern Ninja Gaiden series, well, it existed for a while at least. They just re-released the trilogy on Switch, and Ninja Gaiden 3 was a launch title for the Wii U. On top of that, Koei Tecmo in general works very closely with Nintendo. The Hyrule Warriors games is the obvious one to point at, but they've also worked on Fire Emblem Three Houses and Fire Emblem Warriors, Metroid Other M, Pokemon Conquest, and other various games as well. Not to mention, the Fatal Frame series, which is developed by Koei Tecmo, is a second-party property to Nintendo at this point. So Nintendo and Koei Tecmo's relations are pretty strong. Ryu is Koei Tecmo's mascot character basically. It's the most iconic character by a long shot and is usually shoved in a lot of their games like Dead or Alive or the Musou series. So if Koei Tecmo were to get a character, it would easily have to be Ryu. And that's it, I guess. Moving on from characters who I think are deserving to become playable, I thought I'd go over a few various characters I would love to get in. Any character from Zelda at this point. Maybe the champions from Breath of the Wild would be a good choice because they aren't assist trophies. I would take anything from Zelda. Also Rhythm Heaven. I would love to see something from Rhythm Heaven. In terms of third-party characters, I'd love to see Ami from Okami, 2B from Nier, and Raiden from Metal Gear would be amazing. Phoenix Wright would be great. Oh, and Monokuma from Danganronpa would be the absolute best character. Anyway, I'd love to hear what characters you'd love to see or fighters you'd think are deserving. Anyway, for the rest of this video, I'm just going to be going over my previous predictions and other things or whatever, so if you're sticking around for more predictions, that's pretty much it. If you have a keen eye or ear or whatever, you would have noticed that I haven't mentioned Kazuya once in this video, so let's finally get around to acknowledging him. I actually kinda got this prediction correct, similar to how I kinda predicted Pyra and Mithra. In my previous video, I guessed that one of the final two fighters would be a Namco character, although I was hesitant to go with a Tekken rep, so I ended up choosing Lloyd from Tales of Symphonia in favour. Now, how do I feel about him in general? I don't really find myself much of a fan of the fighting characters just because I find them boring to play as. Although I do like his dragon abilities, he still isn't really someone I'd care to play as, to be honest. Just in general, and this is why I left this discussion to the end of the video, I really can't say I'm much of a fan of this Fighters Pass at all. It's like Nintendo and Sakurai went out of their way to make sure that none of the characters they chose would appeal to me whatsoever. I felt very underwhelmed this entire past year or two actually. I know there's one fighter left and everything, so before I give my complete opinions of the DLC, I'll wait for the final fighter to release. In fact, because this next character will be the last fighter, it does mean my next video will be the last one I make on Smash Ultimate, and Smash in general for a while. I mean, at least in terms of prediction videos. So I plan on ending off this saga with a big ass finale video. Though there won't be any remaining predictions left to make or anything, but I plan on discussing the future of Smash, my general opinions of the DLC, and maybe even the past decade of Smash speculation in general. Also, a big one would be to go back and judge all my previous predictions. But yeah, I can't do any of this until the final fighter is revealed, and as Sakurai said, it may take a while. So yeah, I hope you all stick around till then. As I said earlier, I'd love to hear your guys' speculation of the final character, so if you like this video, please consider subscribing. I really appreciate it. Anyway, I think that's enough. Thanks so much for watching, especially this far. You're a legend. I hope to catch you next time. Bye.